I've played New Horizons for a long time now, but I'm always learning new things. I decided to reach out to my community and ask them to share some things they wish they had known sooner when playing. So, here are 50 tips and tricks that you'll definitely want to know too. Leave a like on the video if you're ready to learn more about Animal Crossing New Horizons, and let's jump right into this. Starting us off, you can actually get recipes from your villagers 3 times a day, which is incredibly convenient if you're trying to build up how many you've got and you want to craft more things. You can get them early in the morning, in the afternoon, and also the evening as well. So make sure to check your villager homes to see if they're crafting throughout the day so you can collect more of those recipes. You can also get DIY recipes when you're visiting a friend's island too. If their villagers happen to be crafting, then you can visit them and get a recipe. Don't worry, this won't take away a recipe from your friend, you can both get it, which is really convenient. Of course, your friends can share recipes too if they end up getting duplicates, since the villagers kind of force you to take those. Now, an interesting fact, if you don't like what your villagers are wearing during parties, for example when they attend another village's birthday party, or a special occasion like New Year's, you can actually change their party clothes. Simply gift them some different clothes like you usually would in the category of sort of fancy clothes, and they will wear these when those occasions happen. Sometimes villagers just aren't quite wearing exactly what you'd like, so it's very easy to customize, thankfully. Now, if you start up a new island and you don't happen to like your first few villagers, a mistake that a lot of people often make is they'll simply give up and restart the whole island. Now, whilst this might be quick, you might have actually found the perfect map. It might have the perfect airport color and the perfect starting fruit for you. So don't worry, you can easily hunt for new villagers later. You definitely don't have to worry about who your first 2 are. You don't have to keep them around if you don't want to. Now, when you do go hunting for more villagers, a cool trick is to make sure you drop your ladder before you go. This means that you won't get Nook Mile islands that will end up having multiple stories. It can take a lot of extra time to have to use your ladder each and every time to visit a villager which is on top of the cliffs. So instead, leave your ladder behind, make sure you've still got your vaulting pole, and you won't get any of those islands, which is a really cool detail. Another tip for hunting villagers is you can actually villager hunt the first 3 which move into your new island. These villagers will always be peppy, normal, and also lazy, so you can hunt for them rather than just letting them autofill. This is a part of that quest where you have to place the plots down and gain a certain amount of items in order to get the villagers to move in. It doesn't have to be random, you can choose who they are as long as you go villager hunting and of course find the ones that you actually want. Now, I'm not sure I recommend this too much, but it's definitely something that a lot of people don't realize. Your villagers can actually slowly contribute to bridges and inclines and such. Yeah, it will take a really long time. They probably won't ever pay it off themselves unless you time travel, hundreds of years in the future, but they will slowly and surely pay little bits of money. I'm not entirely sure if this is true, but it might be possible that if you're better friends, they might contribute a little bit more. I'm not sure. I'm personally just pay these off myself instantly so they can get done, but if you're really short on bells, I guess you could let them contribute a little bit. Now, do you ever find villagers are sometimes just sitting on the ground in your way when you're trying to do things? Perhaps you want to talk to them and gift them something. All you have to do is walk into them like they're in your way and they will stand up. Then you'll be able to fully interact with them, such as giving them gifts. It is quite annoying that when they decide to sit down you can't really do anything with them, but I guess they've got to relax at some point. Now, when you're starting up a new island and you're placing down tons of new villager houses and other buildings, a really good tip is to make sure you place them on the beach. This means they will be out of the way so you can move them later on, rather than having them get in the way of the main portion of the island. Now, the beach has a limited amount of space, you might not be able to get everything there, but definitely you can fit most of your villager homes there, and I do recommend that if you're trying to come up with a good plan for your island and you don't want to have to work around all these different houses. Then you should only have to move them once more into their final position, rather than have to move them around again and again and again. Another thing that's important to remember when starting a new island is you cannot move the plaza. It is stuck exactly where it is, so keep the position of that in mind when you're choosing a new map. You also can't move the airport either, or change the mouths of your river, aka the ones that are closest to the ocean. So you can terraform and change most things, but these are really important details to keep in mind when selecting a map, as you never know, you might end up regretting it and then have to restart because you can't change it, and that's something you'll probably want to avoid doing, honestly. One more important detail about this is you actually can't change the color of your airport. It is stuck the way it is. I've got this yellow one, and honestly I wish I had gone for a green or blue one instead, but I liked other features about my island when I started up. So yeah, unfortunately I am stuck with this one literally forever because there is no way to change it. Now, speaking of starting up a new island, sometimes when you're just beginning, you need Nook Miles quickly. Well, thankfully, there's a lot of different tasks you can do that are really simple, which will net you Nook Miles in a quick fashion. For example, you can change the town tune, you could simply change the flag to another design, or write on the bulletin board. These are all really great, easy ways of getting Nook Miles quickly. So make sure you take a look through the full Nook Miles list to see which ones might be really easy to do early on in the game. How about fishing? One thing you definitely want to avoid when going fishing is running on the beach. This is the easiest way to scare those fish away, and sometimes that might end up being a rare one. Don't run at all on the beach unless you purposely want to scare the fish away, and maybe if you want to get better things to spawn in instead of those pesky sea bass which seem to be everywhere. Now, a lot of players really seem to struggle with fishing, and I'm included in this too. I really am not good at it at all. So a good tip is to make sure to fish by sound, not by sight. Sometimes by focusing on what the fish is doing on your screen, it can kind of scare you and you'll reel in too quickly. So listen to the game and the sounds that it makes, and then you'll know exactly when the fish is biting, and then you can reel it in. I definitely freak myself out way too much with fishing and just feel like it's going to bite really quickly and it never does. So yeah, fish by sound. Speaking of sounds, a lot of the insects you hear around your island aren't just ambient noises, they are actual insects you can catch. For example, things like the cicadas and the crickets, they're actually around, you just need to find them. And of course the mole cricket as well, which is underground. Make sure to listen out for the sound so you can find it. Did you know that you can actually hold your net whilst you're shaking the trees? If you played the past Animal Crossing games but not New Horizons, then you might not know this one, and I actually didn't. This wasn't a thing in past games, but it is something you can do now, so you can keep that net ready for when you want to catch bugs, which is definitely a really good tip. Now, wasps are incredibly scary insects to catch, but I do have some tips on how to catch and also avoid them. For example, you want to make sure you stand in front of the tree with a net so the game will turn you in the direction of the wasps automatically. This means you won't have to try and line yourself up once you've ran away and they might catch up to you and sting you. You'll be ready to capture them right away. This is probably the best and easiest way to get them in my opinion. But what if you don't want to catch them? What if you just want to avoid them? Well, here's a fun fact, you can actually scare away wasps by using the Party Poppers item. You can get these during certain events in the game, but I do believe you can buy them year around in Nook's Cranny. So if wasps are causing you any hassle, get some Party Poppers and it'll scare them. If you want to hide from them because you're afraid of wasps, then hide in one of the pergola items. There are several items like this which I believe you get from Nook Shopping by exchanging your Nook Miles, and yeah, you can hide in these and wasps will not be able to get you. However, this is only a short-term solution, the wasps will still be following you around, so maybe pair that with something like the Party Poppers and then you'll be completely safe. It is also a good way to line yourself up to try and catch them as well, I believe. Now, if you want to go really drastic, you can use a wetsuit to jump into the water to avoid wasps. This is only if you're absolutely desperate and already wearing one, but wasps will not follow you into the water, which is really handy. Wasps love to hide in trees, and did you know that money trees don't actually regrow? Once you've already used up the money on them, they are done. It is a one and done sort of thing. You'll have to tear them down and replant them if you want more. Personally, I just leave them the way they are. There's so many other easy ways to get bells in the game that I would rather just leave them up for the aesthetics than actually get any money from them. Now, a lot of people like to stunt the growth of their trees when designing. A way you can do this is to actually plant a little sapling behind the tree that you want to stunt. Get the tree to the growth you are happy with, and then plant a sapling behind it so it will not continue to grow anymore. This is a really neat design trick for making cool looking islands with unique tree shapes and sizes and such, so it's definitely one that I recommend. Now, if you cut down a tree and you get a stump, these are really good to keep around your island too. You'll definitely want lots of stumps around. Stumps are a great way to collect all of the bugs in the game, so if you need certain ones, you're missing certain bugs for your museum, then you might want to make sure you've got some stumps, because that could easily be one you're missing. I also personally think they look really cool. Now, if you want to get palm trees on land, use your Terraforming app to add some sand and then plant the palm tree on top of it. This is how you can get them outside of the beach. It's a really cool detail and a really nice piece of functionality, especially if you're trying to create an island that maybe has a tropical theme or something like that. This would be a really great way of doing so. Onto gyroids. You don't actually have to collect all the different colored gyroids by burying them in the ground or digging them up. You can simply collect multiple of the same and then actually customize them. Like a lot of other items in the game, all the gyroids can be customized, so you can change their colors to whichever one you like to get the full collection. I know some people really like to collect these things, so hopefully this will help you a little bit to get the ones you've been after. Now, a lot of people forget that you can actually plant and water gyroid fragments so you can grow full ones, but what you might not know is you don't have to wait for it to rain like it did in past Animal Crossing games for these gyroids to come up. You can simply water it with your watering can and it'll come up a lot more quickly. Rain isn't the most frequent thing in Animal Crossing New Horizons, so you definitely don't want to be waiting around for that to happen. Now, if you like custom designs, here's a good tip for you. You can actually place invisible paths next to things on your island and they won't grow. This is a great way of keeping flowers in check. Invisible paths don't look like anything, of course, but they will help keep your island a lot more tidy, which is a feature I really love, so I have so many of these around my island. They've definitely helped stop weeds from spreading, those pesky flowers which seem to go everywhere. They're a really great solution for a lot of different things, so I highly recommend you do it. And of course, an invisible design is something literally everyone can do. It's not like it requires any artistic skill or anything like that, so it's just a really neat little tip that I enjoy. Speaking of flowers, be careful what you are putting over them, because flowers will eat up most things. For example, if a balloon drops on them, they're gone. Fruit, they're gone. Pine cones, things you shake from the trees, they will disappear into big hordes of flowers. If there is room for items to drop around them, they should be fine. But just keep in mind, things won't gently land on top of the flowers for you to pick up. They will go. They will disappear into the void, never to be seen again, which is really sad. Now, if you want to get rid of a ton of flowers or other things around your island, make sure you carry a trash bin with you. This will allow you to easily bin things when doing a big project around the island. I know some of you have islands absolutely infested with flowers that have just taken over, so if you want to get rid of them a bit more quickly, make sure you've got a bin so you can just throw them away with ease. I never bother to sell these to Nook's Cranny. It's honestly not that much money, it doesn't feel worth it, so I would rather just bin them if I want them gone. Now, if you're using your terraforming tool, use the grass path to completely erase things. This will get rid of other pathways you put down and also custom designs instantly. It won't just round them off like using one of the same wood or putting something else down. The grass tool is effectively like an eraser. It's really cool. I definitely recommend using this one as much as possible if you want to get rid of things when doing a big designing project around your island. Don't forget about it. Now, if you decide to build something like a new building on top of furniture, it'll actually appear in the lost box, so don't worry, your item isn't gone forever. You can access this easily in resident services, and you might be surprised about the amount of items that are actually in there. There are a ton of different things, including some exclusive sloppy items which you can only find in here, so make sure you check out the lost box as often as you possibly can. You definitely won't regret it. Also, did you know, you can actually put money in the Piggy Bank and donation box items. These are a neat little way of storing certain increments of bells. I believe it's 1,000 at a time. I don't really get why these aren't connected to anything else though, and I do think it is a bit of a shame you can only store 1,000 at a time. This would have been a neat way of taking sort of tips from people if they came for your island to get turnips or something like that. But yeah, they don't really have too much use, but the functionality definitely is really interesting and something that I had to mention within this video. Now, you'll want to make sure you talk to Sable every single day when you're first starting up the game so you can unlock these fabrics. These certain fabrics can be used to customize items, and you can even put them down on the ground, I believe, and wear them. There are so many of these that you can get from her, so keep on talking to her until you've gotten literally every single one that you possibly can. It is definitely worth it. Speaking of special characters, Gullivarr is an interesting one who actually doesn't count towards the golden shovel goal that you will get by talking to the regular Gullivarr. So please keep that in mind when you're interacting with Gullivarr. He's not quite as useful as the regular one. I've always found him a little bit strange, but to be fair, I do like his pirate items a lot. Now, if you're on Harvey's Island and you want to get all of the different haircuts that Harriet will offer to you, you'll have to make sure that you unlock all the shops. It seems like the different haircuts are actually tied to the shops you've opened up, so if you want all of these available to customize your character with, you will need to unlock everything here. I generally recommend doing that anyways because it's just a good goal for the game to have, definitely one of the better goals in the game, especially later on, and you can get some very cool hairstyles, so make sure you're getting all of these unlocked as soon as you can. Now, here's the toilet item, and believe it or not, it does actually have some functionality. If you've got too much energy, you can sit on the toilet and actually get rid of it. This is how you do that. It's quite funny to see this in an Animal Crossing game, honestly. It's not exactly what I would have ever really expected from the franchise, but yeah, this is a thing you can do, and I definitely think it's something you should know about. Probably the most important thing on this list that you should know is that you can back up your island if you have Nintendo Switch Online. Make sure you head to the settings menu on the main title screen and talk to Tom Nook about the island backup, and he will make sure that backups are set up automatically for you. This is to make sure your island isn't lost if your Switch gets damaged or lost somehow. You'll definitely want to make sure this is turned on, 100% make sure it is, because I don't believe it's turned on automatically. It is really important that you have this on so nothing goes wrong. You wouldn't want to lose all of that progress. Now, a fun little thing is if you have the balloon items and you run around your island, if you trip up, you can actually lose them, so be careful about running when you have the balloons. Whilst these items aren't too difficult to obtain and they are just for aesthetical purposes, you might want to keep hold of your favorite balloon, so definitely be careful when you're running around. Now, if you care about the Happy Home Academy and Feng Shui in your home, make sure you don't have any items facing your wall or it will actually dock points from you. I've never really been too into this feature, but I know some people definitely are, so it is an important thing to note if you are trying to get all those Feng Shui points and also get as many points as possible from the Happy Home Academy. I do believe you get some trophies and such, so that will be something important to keep in mind if you want to unlock literally everything. If you've completed your museum and you're done with fossils in the game, then you can actually bury 6 of them in a hidden spot to stop them from spawning. Some people might want them to still spawn around so they can get the bells from them, but if you're just completely done with them and you have no use for them anymore, then this might be a good tip. It's just a shame that Blathers can't take them for his own personal collection. That would have been really great. Now, a lot of people do know this one, but it shocked me how much this actually came up in the comments. So many people suggested this one. You can craft faster by pressing the A button. Yes, if you've been crafting slow this whole time, you might be shocked to know that you just needed to mash the A button so that you can craft extra fast. Yeah, again, I know a lot of people already do know this one, I've known it for a long time myself, but it's shocking how many people have only just really learnt this fact, and I'm guessing that some people only just learn it from the video as well. So let me know if you already knew this one or not, or if it's a first for you. If you want the Nook Shopping app on your phone instead of having to go into resident services every time and talking to the terminal, you'll need to buy 100 items from there. Once you've done so, you will automatically unlock it as a phone on your app, and it is so much more convenient to shop through here than it is anywhere else. I really love using this. Now, heading away from the island, if you're talking to Orville and maybe you're going villager hunting or something like that, it is important to note that clapping for him does nothing. This is not functionality within the game. A lot of people believe the myth that if you clap for Orville and he blushes, he will get you a better island. And some people absolutely insist that this is a feature in the game and it worked for them. Well, I can tell you conclusively, there is no evidence whatsoever in the code of the game that this exists. It is completely a myth that was made up. Just because you got lucky by clapping for him, it's just a pure coincidence, honestly. It doesn't actually work as a feature in the game. Don't get me wrong, it would be a really cool idea and I wish they did more stuff like this, but a lot of people don't realize that this is just simply a myth. Now, moving on to the DLC Happy Home Paradise, you can get a recipe every single day from the head chef of the restaurant. Make sure to go into them and talk and you'll get some really unique food recipes. I'm still missing so many of these myself, so it is definitely a really good idea to talk to them and try and get as many as possible. You can also get a free plumeria bush start from the head teacher of the school too. This is just another neat way of getting a free item every single day by having the DLC, although you might find yourself absolutely inundated with bushes by the end of it. You can also get some special items to wear by seeing the doctor. You'll have to talk to the receptionist of the hospital that you've built and then get an appointment, and when you go see the doctor, they will give you some special items to wear. I believe you can only get these items from the hospital, or at least it's certainly a much easier way of doing so. They're kind of things like bandages and such, so if you want to collect everything, make sure you're doing this. Speaking of the hospital, Joan will actually be there on Mondays to give you a certain amount of turnips. It seems like it's a random amount up to 100 every single Monday. If you don't know who Joan is, she is an iconic character who used to sell us the turnips before Daisy May in the past Animal Crossing games. A fun fact about her is she was the first character ever seen in Animal Crossing. She appeared on the train before we had seen literally anyone else. So yeah, she's got a long history with the franchise and she is absolutely so iconic. Now, if you're short on bells or pokey, you can actually head into the main office, and once you've completed a certain amount of homes within the game, you will be able to convert your pokey into bells or vice versa. I personally wouldn't convert my pokey into bells just because bells are so easy to come by. I'd rather use for pokey, especially with things like the amazing items you can get in the DLC, and also Wardell's shop, which unlocks so many of them that you've used to design. You might as well just get as much pokey as you possibly can and keep it. Now, if you're visiting some of the homes that you've designed with Nico, you don't actually have to talk to him and leave and go back every single time to visit something. Instead, you can easily go from one home to the other by opening the app that you unlock, and this will take you from one design to another. This is a great and very quick way of visiting a lot of homes in one go. Now, if you design a home for a special NPC character that you've used an amiibo on, they will actually mail you their photo the day after you've designed it. I think this is really cool. Usually you only get these photos for becoming best friends with characters, so it's definitely a neat way of adding to your photo collection by doing some cool designs in the DLC. So, those were 50 tips and tricks and things that we wish we had known sooner in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Let me know some of yours down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you made it to the end, comment Bob's Gang so I know you did. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe and turn on notifications for more.